Greg Boysen is here, and today he published his top 5 Blackhawks prospects for Chicago Hockey Now. We're going to get Greg's list, and remember, Stan Mikita, 7 years after his passing, and the Dominik Hasek trade 33 years after it happened. All that and more on CHGO Blackhawks coming up next. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. Hope you're having a great Thursday. The weekend is in sight, but Greg Boysen is even closer, right next to me, filling in for Mario today. Joey is running the show. By the way, congratulations to Joey, who was made full-time this week on the CHGO staff. Well-deserved, my friend.
Thank you, Jay, for all the Blackhawks community out there. I appreciate the Frank Nazar moment of last year that I will never personally forget, but I appreciate the shout-out. Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. You have earned it. You've worked your ass off.
Right.
Well-deserved.
At least you didn't call a Blackhawks top prospect by the wrong name when he was drafted in Vegas.
That was me.
That was both of us.
Yeah.
We both screwed.
We had no audio.
Yeah.
We were very much
We
predicting,
phonetically pronounced Sasha Boisvert as it's spelled.
Oh, like
Boisvert.
Boisvert.
Hey,
This
you ever
is
been to
American,
my friend?
Boisvert guy here.
If
He's
you don't
going to be pretty good.
if you don't want an American name, go back to Canada.
Good
Know what I mean?
flapjacks. Breaking news. We're not perfect. Back to you guys.
Yeah, that's been proven every day
Yeah.
since March of 2022 by me. Thank you
Hey,
very
if
much.
people remember you screwed something up, it means they were listening then
Yeah.
and they're still listening now. That's a good thing.
And all you can do is laugh at yourself because it's going to happen again, over and over again. We're glad you're here, though.
in this show. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We're glad Greg's here. We're glad you guys are here. Do us a favor, hit that like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. And if you're listening on the podcast, whatever your app calls for, whatever that little button is, maybe it's a plus sign, maybe it's a follow button, maybe it's a subscribe button, make sure you hit that. And if you're feeling generous, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify goes a really long way, longer than you'd expect. So those are the ways you can help us. So feel free to choose one or choose all, and we would very much appreciate it. All right, Greg, you put out this morning for Chicago Hockey Now your top 5 Blackhawks prospects. I'm going to let you talk through it, and let's go through the list.
Sure. Appreciate you letting me plug that over at Chicago Hockey Now. Actually, I'll start this off by saying I hate rankings. I hate doing rankings, but I did them. I did all 40 Chicago prospects in over the last few weeks. So went through the entire system. How I broke down my rankings is to be taken with a grain of salt. To me, like, there's not a whole lot of difference between, say, prospect 4 and 10. Like,
Right.
Those are your really good guys. And then, 30 through 40, those are guys that, like, yeah, they're there. I based the rankings on how much impact, if everything goes right and they hit their full potential, how much impact they're going to make at the NHL level.
Okay. I like that method.
That's how I did it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily by their chances to get to the NHL, but if they actually, everything went right, how much impact are they going to make in the NHL? That's how I came up with these rankings. Again, basically the idea of this whole thing was to kind of give you a quick little summary of what each prospect did this past year, what they bring to the table, and what their plans for this year are. Put them in some sort of order just to get that out there. So it's more of a, here's what they did last year, here's what they're going to do next year, here's why the Blackhawks drafted them. But it's more fun when you put a number next to it. People pay attention to that because then they want to argue with you.
They want to disagree.
And that's fine. That's why Al Gore invented the internet.
Boisman, you idiot.
Al Gore invented the internet to yell at each other under anonymous account.
His dream came true.
Good for him.
It's exactly what he thought it would be.
All right, so top 5. And again, if you could check out all these different chunks of 5 over at Chicago Hockey Now. But my 5th rated prospect in the system as of now, I'll probably redo this in January after the World Juniors, is Nick Lardis. This is a guy that, if you would have told me when you stood there at the podium in Nashville 2 years ago wondering whose child this was that wandered onto the podium.
Why is the draft kid sitting here being interviewed?
If you would have told me that kid would turn into a top 5 prospect 2 years later, I would have been like, pass me whatever it is you've rolled up, because that's good stuff. But Nick Lardis, man, I mean, he is probably the most exciting offensive prospect as far as pure goal scoring.
Sure.
He's the best goal scorer in the system. He's got that release and his quick shot. Yes, it was the OHL. Yes, he's not going to score 70 goals in the NHL, at least not this year.
Well, not in one season.
Right. So, but he's an intriguing I think if he hits to his full potential, he can have a big impact on this team. He could be that secondary scoring option so Connor Bedard doesn't have to do it all. He could be a sniper on the power play. He could be, a different type of Alex DeBrincat kind of player. You're Patrick Sharp, so to speak. You're a guy that you have one job. Go out there and score a goal. That's what you do. He's going to have to do some more things to max out. His defensive willingness is not great. He kind of shies away from contact, but these are all things that as he gets bigger, as he gets older, he's not going to be able to shy away from contact in the AHL, that's for sure. But I think he's number 5 because if he hits his ceiling, he is going to be a really impactful player for this team.
I wonder too about a guy like that who you say shies away from contact. I think when you're playing the OHL and you have a level of ability significantly higher than the majority of your competition, you can kind of do that, right? He's got enough ability, obviously, to score 71 goals without necessarily having to go get his ass kicked in front of the net all the time. What I think separates a lot of these guys, and we always talk about Dave Bolland, when you have a guy who had gigantic numbers in junior and then came to the NHL and realized, if I'm going to have success here, I have to adapt my game. If Lardis can get that change implemented at the AHL level, to me that's the big question, because from what we understand about Jeff Blashill, he's not going to tolerate a guy who's going to just take shortcuts and try to, what he calls it, the poke and hope, right? Just looking for offense 100% of the time with no focus on defense. Lardis will have to adapt his game if he's going to have an impact at the NHL level, anywhere close to what he had at the OHL level, which, let's face it, he's not. He's not going to score 71 goals. But like you said, if you can get secondary scoring from a player like Lardis, who is now, by the way, officially 6 feet, so guaranteed Hall of Famer, I'm really curious to see how his season in Rockford is going to go, because sometimes when you have those ultra skilled kind of guys in the AHL, they can struggle a little bit because they just don't have the complementary players. I remember when Tavo was in Rockford, and people were like, this guy is such a high prospect, but his numbers are not jumping off the page. And a lot of the times he would have teammates say, he hit me with a perfect pass, I just wasn't ready for it. I wasn't expecting it. I don't usually play with a player of that caliber. So we'll see. I think Lardis and Rockford is going to be, to me, probably the most interesting story out of Rockford this year.
If I'm the Blackhawks this September, when training camp starts, I attach Nick Lardis to Frank Nazar's hip.
Yeah.
And say, watch what he does. Emulate what he does.
Yeah.
With and without the puck, you're going to be fine. Now, there are the criticisms of Lardis' defense. Nick Lardis wasn't asked to play any defense in Brantford. Go out there and score a goal.
Yes.
Comes back to the bench. Go out there and score another goal.
Right.
So we don't know, he's going to have to figure it out at some point. But if he's a guy that's going to go out there and score you 25 to 30 goals a game, you can live with defensive
A game?
deficiency.
That'd be awesome.
A year. Well, yeah, if he could do that, who cares about his defense? No, 25, 30 goals a season. You can live with some, not great defense. You can live with that piano on the back every once in a while.
You did it with Patrick Kane for over a decade, and it was fine because the scoring was that elite. And again, just to be clear, I'm not saying Nick Lardis is Patrick Kane, but when you've built a team full of guys that are willing to play both ways, and I think Kyle Davidson, for the most part, has done that. You'd say the really exclusive offense-only guys, even in the system, are Bedard and Lardis, right? Like Boisvert, Vanacker, Spellacy, Nazar, up and down, like Moore. All these guys play a two-way game.
Right.
So you can live with a guy or two who's not going to be completely committed to defense. You can live with that if the rest of if your other 10 forwards are defensively reliable. Frondell, too.
Yeah, I think Lardis, could be a top 6 guy, middle 6 guy, somewhere in there. He's definitely going to be an offensive role. It's kind of hard to judge and say, yeah, he's for sure a first liner, because if all these guys, or not all, but if a handful of these top prospects all pan out, it doesn't, like, it's just a number of a line you play. Like, it's just like the Hawks, the Stanley Cup Hawks, like top line, second line, it doesn't matter. It's a really good team. So his ceiling is being a impactful contributor on a good team.
Well, and I think that's part of the question, too, is will he adjust his game enough to where if he's not a top 6 guy, can he still have value on a team? Can he provide bottom 6 play? Because you're right. Like, you did have higher caliber players playing on lower lines during the dynasty years. Dave Bowen's a good example. I think Marcus Kruger could have had a higher role on pretty much 30 other teams.
He looked like a guy like Christopher Stieg was third
a great
and fourth
example.
line at times.
Right. Who's would be a top 6 guy in every other team. Can Lardis find that part to his game where he can be dependable in the bottom 6? I think he can. Again,
if
he's
the
6
Hawks
feet now.
get to that point, things are going really well.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. We're going to get to number 4 here in a second. Before we do, I want to remind everybody to hit the like button for us. Make sure you're subscribed to the page. Should we take a break first, Joey, before we start getting into number 4? I know we're a little bit early.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's give me 1 second to line it up.
All right, we're going to hit the break zone about a minute early, and we'll be back in 2 minutes with 4 through 1 on CHGO Blackhawks. What is Sunnyside? Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. Whether you're new to the cannabis game, whether you've been on the cannabis thing for a long time, longer than you should have been, by the way, shaving the carrot, looking at you guys, that was illegal a long time ago. It's not anymore. So go to Sunnyside, get squared away with the best cannabis on the planet. They've got great locations: Wrigleyville, River North, Champaign, South Beloit, and more. Have trouble sleeping like me? Get yourself some Good News Counting Sheep or anything from Mindy's. They are outstanding. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois MedCard holders. And if you're an existing user, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Labs brand item. And it's hot today. We had a nice little reprieve. The reprieve is over. Is your AC holding up? If not, get in touch with our friends at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. They've been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Now is the time to get that AC checked out, and Four Seasons experts are ready to help you with AC installation, maintenance, and repair. Schedule your Four Seasons AC tune-up today. Save $50 and enjoy a 1-year no-breakdown guarantee. That's a great deal. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. Again, that's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. And they've also got a special offer. Save up to $4,000 a month on new comfort systems with Four Seasons. New AC units from $39 a month and AC furnace combos from $57 a month. Fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. And speaking of Four Seasons, Taking the Temp is presented by your local trusted experts at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. The temp of the chat on today's show, cautiously optimistic about Nick Lardis, which I think is how a lot of us are feeling. I also want to shout out the chat for mentioning James Black. That's a blast from the past.
Good old number 38.
That's correct. Well done. Him with the very, I stopped short of saying afro because I don't know if a white guy can have an afro. But he had very thick, curly hair. I guess you're right. He did. James Black, good old 38. That was a guy who somehow scored points and just, they're like, all right, cool. Goodbye. You don't really add too much to the team aside from goals.
Yeah, no, you're helping us reach the playoffs. Get the hell out of here.
He had, with the Hawks, 12 goals. 10 goals, 16 goals. He's all right. Fine.
Solid guy.
Yeah. All right. That ends the James Black segment of the show. And we're going to move on to number 4 on Greg's list of the Blackhawks top 5 prospects.
Oh, this one's going to be spicy. This will get the reaction. My 4th prospect is defenseman Kevin Korchinski.
Okay.
Guys, he's still really good and still has a chance to be a really good NHL player. I know there are the segment of the fan base that wants to trade him. He's not Quinn Hughes or Cale Makar right out of the box. He sucks. Get rid of him. Trade him. Let's pump the brakes. Like, there's trading Kevin Korchinski just to trade him because you have Rinzel and Levshunov and other guys in the system is bad business. It's bad asset management. Now, if a trade comes along where you can get a guy that's going to be in your top 6, a Mason McTavish or something along those lines, and Korchinski is the price you have to pay, I could live with that. But don't trade Kevin Korchinski just because you want to trade Kevin Korchinski. That's dumb.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you.
He's still really good. I know, it's been a mixed bag. We've talked about it 100 times. Nobody got affected worse by the CHL, AHL age restricted than Kevin Korchinski.
That's tough. Yeah.
He got caught in the rock in the hard place. Played that whole first season in the NHL. It wasn't a complete disaster. It looked good at times. It looked rough at times. But it's a teenager in the NHL for the first time. It was about as good as you could expect. Last year in Rockford, AHL All-Star, MVP of the AHL All-Star game. Looked a lot more confident with the puck. I think they still want him to take another step offensively. They've got enough guys that are defensive-minded and two-way guys where I think they want Korchinski to be like, just be the offensive guy.
Right.
Generate the offense from the blue line. Worry about that. We saw more of that. What really impressed me about him, he came back, he had another stint in the NHL, was pretty good. What really impressed me about him was his playoff run. He had a big goal against the Wolves.
Yep.
And in that Milwaukee series, which they ultimately lost in 5 games, 3-2, he was playing with more of a physical edge. Milwaukee is a veteran AHL team. They're big. They play physical. That first game, they spent the entire first half of that game just trying to run the Ice Hogs out of the building, intimidate the young players, check them, and he was pushing back. He was getting in guys' faces. He was getting involved in extracurricular activity. One of my favorite plays, I forget who it was, but there was a scrum, and the Milwaukee player that got involved with him after the whistle, his glove was on the ice, and he picked up the guy's glove and just skated away for him and then threw it down the ice. Like, he had a little bit more edge to him, which I was like, wow, okay, he needs that if he wants to be in the NHL. So I'm not giving up on Kevin Korchinski just yet.
And no one really should. I mean, and going back to the physicality thing, that was the thing in his rookie year where they basically told Nick Foligno, you're going to kick his ass for an entire practice. We want you.
And he did.
Making Kevin Korchinski tough, and he did. And it was a tough day for Korchinski, but I think a lot of time when you get these young players who come into locker rooms full of veterans, and let's be honest, like, yes, it's a rebuilding team, but for the last couple of years, they've been veteran heavy. And for a 19-year-old kid to walk in there, you kind of want to stand back a little bit. You don't want to rock the boat too much. You just want to go out there and not hurt the team. I think what they want to see from Korchinski is exactly what you're talking about. A little bit of swagger, a little bit of confidence. And you didn't see that his rookie year. And even with that, he was still pretty good. Most games, he was fine. Yes, there were some struggles, of course, but let's not forget, he spent tons of the season with Jacob Megna and Jared Tenorti as his D partners. Like that can't be ignored either.
Right.
So I think that he is a higher prospect than Kaiser. He's a higher prospect than Del Mastro, a higher prospect than Allen. Obviously, Crevier. I think he's right behind Rinzel and Levshunov as the third defensive prospect. And if he made the team out of camp and never looked back, it wouldn't shock me in the least.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I think a lot of the people. We had a question on Mailbag Monday saying, like, are the fans and media too rough on Korchinski? And I think what you said is accurate. From what I've heard, is most people, when they bring up Kevin Korchinski's name in a trade, it is for exactly what you're talking about. That Mason McTavish or a proven or a close to proven top 6 under 25 forward that's going to come fill a need you don't have right now because you have a surplus on defense. You're not trading Levshunov. You're not trading Rinzel. So your most valuable piece of the D core is Korchinski. That's why his name is always sort of in the rumors, not because anyone's in a hurry to get rid of him.
No.
For the record.
Right.
All right, number 3.
Number 3, we're staying on defense, and this is another guy that when he was drafted, if you would have said one day he's going to be, excuse me, he's got me all choked up.
Yep, I do that.
That's Sam Rinzel, the big defenseman from Minnesota, 25th overall pick in 2022, was drafted to be a long-term project, and here we are 3 years later, and he looks like he's an NHL player. Going to be the Blackhawks version of Brock Faber. It's pretty exciting. And he's been super impressive. His development has been great. Even last year, the first year when he was drafted, we had him at development camp. You talked to him. And then last year, development camp, he shows up, and I was like, oh, my God, he left a boy. He's returned a man.
Well, I mean, he had like the thickest neck.
Bigger. And then he's like, what we saw last year in the small sample size at the end of the year, just jumped right in, never looked out of place, never looked overwhelmed, jumped right in. I think you have a really solid two-way defensive. For a kid his size, the way he skates is so impressive. Can definitely move out the puck. I think we'll see some more offense out of him. And then having a guy like Rinzel and the other defenseman we're going to mention on our list, that takes a lot of pressure off of the last guy we just talked about, Kevin Korchinski. Because if you have multiple guys that can do what you're looking to get out of Korchinski, it takes pressure off of him. You don't have to be our top pair defenseman. We're okay if you're a second pair offensive defenseman. That will work too. So Sam Rinzel, a lot of people are excited about him, and they should be. Yeah,
I feel like Rinzel is never going to play a game in Rockford, short of a injury stint, conditioning sort of a thing. This is a kid who came in, played 9 games last year, and as you said, small sample size, of course. First game against Utah, played 20 minutes, 15 seconds. Then won 23-37, 22-58, 20-45, 22-02, 24-54, 25-03, 26-52, and 23-49. They immediately put their trust in Sam Rinzel. And look, were there any stakes the last 9 stakes? Any stakes the last 9 games of the year? Of course not. They're not in a playoff hunt. They've traded away a lot of pieces. They're just trying to get to the finish line. But there was nothing I saw from Sam Rinzel in those 9 games that made me say, maybe a little more time in Rockford. He looks so poised. He looks so calm. He looks so confident. And if he plays 82 next year for the Hawks, are there going to be ups and downs? Yes, of course. But, man, there's just this kind of quiet confidence about him where I think even if he has a game where he ends up -4 and has a couple turnovers, it's not going to be the sort of thing that derails him. He just sort of has a maturity about him that I think, I don't want to say the other Hawks prospects don't, but remember, he's 21. He's an older player than a lot of these young Blackhawks prospects.
And he's proving that for young defensemen, college is the way to go. You're going to get those 2 years at a top program, and you're going to come in ready to more ready to jump into the NHL than you would if you played 3 years, at Brantford or the Portland Winterhawks. You'll be able to make that transition a lot better. I really think if you're a defensive prospect, go the college route. You're going to get bigger. You're going to get stronger. You're going to be playing against older, bigger, stronger guys. It's just going to prepare you better.
There's like 25-year-olds playing college hockey.
There's guys in there that are like, got 4 kids and
right.
2 mortgages playing on 9th-year senior forward. So
a lot of people go to college for 8 years.
Yeah, they're called doctors.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's move on to number 2 on our list.
Number 2, we're going to go to the rare forward in this top 5, and that is Anton Frondell, the number 3 pick from this year's draft.
Yep.
This kid is a lot to be excited about. A little bummed that he's not going to be at training camp this year, but I get it. Go to Sweden. That team has jumped back up into the top tier league, so he's going to be playing against pros, against veterans. We'll probably get to see him by the end of the year, I would imagine, once the Swedish season's over.
Think so.
And I don't know if that team's going to be good enough to make the playoffs, but if they do, they're probably going to be quick outs.
Yeah, it's a team that was just called up from relegation.
Right. They got some exciting young players on that team. Victor Eklund, the Islanders' first-round pick, will be playing with him. So we're going to see him at the World Juniors. There's no doubt. If he's healthy, he's going to be playing for Sweden. Probably might even be the captain for Team Sweden this year. This is gives you everything you've been looking for in that forward group. Size. It's crazy to think that you draft a guy like Anton Frondell, who's 6'2", almost 200 pounds, and he was the smallest guy you drafted this past draft
it's
class.
Crazy.
So he gives you that
much
size
for a
up
small
front.
prospect pool.
Yeah. He gives you that size up front. He's a true center, two-way player. His defensive game is really good. He's physical, plays between the dots, wins board battles. As I said, defensively responsible, plays a really good 200-foot game. I mean, a lot of people are like, hey, I just saw a thing on CHSN. Is Nazar and Kane the new Taves and Kane? Or is Bedard and Nazar the new Taves and Kane? No.
Slow down.
I mean, they may be your top.
Yeah, right.
They may be your top 2 players, but neither of those guys play the same game. So if there's a guy that's going to be the next Jonathan Taves, as far as bigger two-way centers,
It's Frondell.
it's Frondell.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be excited about him. He was far from a consolation prize. I know that a lot of the fans fell in love with Michael Misa.
Yeah.
I would love Michael Misa here. We all got excited those 3 days. We thought the Sharks are going to pass on him and actually take Frondell, and they thought about it, and that just goes to show. But he is far from a consolation prize. He's exactly what this prospect pool needed. He fills a lot of holes that they needed.
Well, I think he is not as sexy of a player as Misa because the numbers just don't jump off the paper on you, right? But he's playing in Djurgårdens. People like when I do that for some reason. And it's a different league than what Misa was playing in or whatever. Maybe you wanted Desnoyers, whatever it was. It's a different kind of level of competition. It's a different game. Look, selfishly, did I want to see him in a preseason? Of course. I want to see the new toy and see how it plays and all those sort of things. But I think for his development, it makes a lot of sense for him to go, as we're talking about with these college players, go play against men. Go play against a higher level of competition than he did last season in Sweden, now that he's playing in the higher league. It's a good thing for him. Playing some meaningful games, a team he grew up rooting for, and then that season ends. If they don't make the playoffs, it ends like early to mid-March.
Yeah.
So joining the Hawks right after the trade deadline is a possibility.
Yeah, he could still get in 15 to 20 games for the Hawks this year.
Absolutely.
Or the Ice Hogs, whatever they decide to do.
Whatever. But it's coming. There's no need to rush it. I don't think at any point before the draft anyone's like, Anton Frondell is an NHL ready forward. I don't know if anyone is. It seems like Schaefer might play for the Islanders right away. He signed his contract, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. But nobody else was really projected to go straight to the NHL Frondell especially. So
maybe Misa, but we'll see.
Maybe.
He's in a situation where the Sharks could do it, but yeah.
Yeah, that would surprise me. So patience is key. It's the best thing for the prospect. All right, we're going to take our final timeout of the show. If you've not done it already, please hit the like button for us. Subscribe to the YouTube page. We'll be back in 2 minutes right here on CHGO Blackhawks with the number 1 prospect on Greg Boysen's list. Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and you can get it with our friends at Empire Today. Empire Today has flooring experts. These are dedicated flooring professionals focused only on flooring every single day. Families, no. Children, no. Vacation, they don't take it. They want to be around the carpeting all day long. You might go to a big box store. They might have a flooring department. It's a joke compared to Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing, and you can schedule a free in-home estimate today. That way you can see how it's going to look in your home. Duh, it's a no-brainer. CHGO listeners, you can receive a $350 discount when using promo code CHGO. Yep, you heard me correctly, a $350 discount with that code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details. 800-588-2300 Empire. And if you're looking to go to a Major League Baseball game, we are right in the middle of the season. The NL Central race is heating up. How about a trip down to St. Louis to see the Cubs and Cardinals? You want to go Saturday? $36 gets you in the building. What a deal. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, and they are the official ticketing partner of CHGO Blackhawks and CHGO Sports. One thing I love about Game Time is that view from your seat. You're going to Busch Stadium for the first time. These seats are inexpensive, but can I see the game from here? Yes, you can get the views from your seat right there on the app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's code CHGO for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, let's get to a $2 super chat here from Mike, the Cub fan. Mike says, when can we expect this team to contend for cups? Well,
not anytime soon.
It's going to be a while, yeah.
Got to take some baby steps.
Yes.
Let's contend for a wild card spot first. Let's make the playoffs. I mean, 4, 5, 6 years, and you need a lot of things to go right.
Yeah. Duncan Keith's first year with the Hawks was 05-06. So
5 years.
That's 5 years from rookie year to cup. So, yeah, I think being a team that you can make an argument they win a Stanley Cup would be 5 years. Now, if we're talking just getting in the playoffs, maybe winning a round, I would say 2 years, 3 years for that. But this is a deep Western Conference with a lot of good teams, with a lot of good young talent. So they're going to need a lot of these guys to hit, and they're going to need to, at some point, find that superstar trade or free agent piece to come and really solidify things, much like they did at first. It was Martin Havlat, right, to kind of build that bridge to Hossa. Then it was Brian Campbell. Then it was ultimately Marian Hossa, and that's what it took to get the cup. But that's got to happen at some point. But the important thing now is getting the most out of these prospects that you have. And I'll say, so far, so good. You know, I think everyone's been pretty pleased with the progress of the players that Davidson has drafted so far, especially the first and second round guys. Yeah, and
at least we're starting to see some of the rewards of this rebuild. Yeah. You're starting to see that faint light at the end of the tunnel. It's getting a little bit bigger, a little bit brighter with every game played. It's not like we're in Buffalo where you're just like, here we go again, trading guys again. Or it's Detroit where you're like, we were so close again. And Ottawa finally made the playoffs last year after all those years. So, there's at least some sort of, the end of last year was very positive, and you're starting to see I'm starting to see what this might look like. There's some hope. Where a couple years ago you were just like, this is miserable.
Well, there's no shortcuts. I mean, we are talking about adding a player, but you add that player when it's time to take that next step. But you look at the teams like you mentioned, like Buffalo, they grew impatient with a lot of their draft picks and moved on from them maybe a little too quickly. Ottawa, a little bit similar, right? Like, when you're going to rebuild, it's going to take time. It's going to be painful, but the best thing you can do is stick with it, and that's what the Hawks are doing so far. So, I don't know. A lot of these players we're listing are question marks. How good will they be? How far will they go? What will their impact ultimately be in the NHL? But when you've got as many prospects as the Hawks have that look like NHL players, if half of them hit to what you think they're going to, it's a really good start.
For sure.
So, speaking of players the Hawks drafted, let's move on to number 1 on Greg's list of the top 5 Blackhawks prospects.
And that is defenseman. It's time for an arty party. Artyom Levshunov. He's still my number 1 Hawks prospect. Nothing he did last year deterred me from that. In fact, I got more excited about him last year. The discourse between him, taking him or taking Ivan Demidov, unfortunately, is never going to go away.
It will never go away.
He did quiet that a bit last year once Hawks fans got to see him in Rockford, and then that bit small sample size we got last year. I think it was 18 games he played to end the season. He's always going to. Fans are always going to compare those two, but if Levshunov hits his ceiling, which is a true number 1 two-way defenseman, all-star defenseman, maybe eventually a Norris consideration type defenseman, that is far more valuable than what Ivan Demidov's ceiling could be.
Yeah.
Like, you can get goal-scoring dynamic wingers a lot easier than number 1 puck-moving two-way defenseman. So I think his value, if those two players both hit their full potential, Levshunov will be more valuable to the Blackhawks than Demidov to the Canadiens.
Yeah, like what's easier to find, like a Victor Hedman or a
Nick Suzuki, who the Canadiens now have 3 of.
True. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Levshunov last season, little slow start, had to miss training camp because of the off-season injury, foot injury. A little bit slow transition to the AHL, but then hit his stride. There were some plays out there just amazing. All 3 zones of the ice. And then when he got here to Chicago, he didn't look kind of like Rinzel. I mean, there were some times you were like, ugh. Yeah, I always think of that play. It's if you go read the article on Chicago Hockey Now, I included that highlight, that sequence. I believe it was against Tampa last year, where like everybody on the ice kept falling down, and he was there to just with it calmly get the puck 3 or 4 times. It was just a complete clown car shift, except for Artie, and somehow they didn't even get a shot on goal because Levshunov was just calm and collected. He is going to be a very good, likable player for this team for a long time. I was a little disappointed on how his season ended. That series against Milwaukee where Kevin Korchinski upped his game, Levshunov was affected by that physical style of play. He struggled with that a little bit. He'll need to get better at that. But again, you're talking about a 20-year-old kid who in the last 3 years has played in 4 different levels, USHL, NCAA, AHL, and NHL, all while still getting used to living in the United States, coming over from Belarus. What he's done has been tremendous, and I'm not deterred by anything that happened last year. I'm encouraged that he's on the right path, and maybe he makes the team out of camp. I'd love to see it. But if he has to go back to Rockford till November, fine. It's not the end of the world. Young defensemen, you just got to give them time.
And everyone's different. What works for Rinzel might not work for Levshunov and vice versa. So, yeah, I'm all for giving him time. Again, as we mentioned with Frondell, we are excited to see these new prospects play and make their impact in Chicago, but you've got to do what's best for their development. And I think that the shift from Belarus to North America, like that really can't, it's not coming from Berlin or from Sweden or from, it's a way different lifestyle in Belarus than it is in North America. It's a big change.
Rockford might be close to My apologies to the fine folks of Rockford. But.
The language barrier is there for him. But what I like about him is he's just kind of he's unflappable. Just doesn't seem to get too high, too low.
No, he is the most level-headed, calm guy I've ever met in an NHL room. You almost kind of want to see him get a little more excited sometimes. It's just not his style. He just goes out, does what he does, and then quietly tells you what he did.
Yeah, I'm not too scared about the physical part of things either. We saw him at Michigan State lay people out frequently, but I think there are going to be, especially early in his career, some plays where you're like, oh my God, what was he thinking? Because he is a bit of a risk taker. He is a unique player in the way he plays. So there's going to be some moments where you're like, what in the hell was he thinking? And then hopefully there's double the moments where you're like, holy crap, what a play.
Yeah.
Only a handful of defensemen would even think to do something like that.
There were more,
that's on the table for him.
There were more plays like that than plays that made me go, ooh, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
And he progressed well throughout the season, and he was a much better player when the season ended than he was when the season started, and that's what you want to see out of these kids. And that's what we want to see from all these guys we talked about. We want them to be much better players when we're talking about them this time next year than they are in training camp. That's what you need to see.
100%. And another thing we should not discount with Levshunov too is Richardson's fired, Sorensen is hired, so then there's a head coach change for him too in Rockford, where Mark Eaton comes in and takes over midstream for Sorensen. So that's another adjustment he has to make in the course of a couple years. So everything is, as of now, everything seems to be projecting the way we want. The top prospects that we expected when they were drafted remain the top prospects, with a surprise or two in that top 5. So that's great stuff. If you want to read the whole thing, make sure you're following Greg on Twitter and go to ChicagoHockeyNow.com. And he's got right there at the bottom of 1 through 5 is the link to all the others down to 40.
You can read about all 40 Hawks prospects, what they did last season, what they're going to be up to next season, and kind of what they bring to the table. So it's a nice refresher course for the prospects.
All right, today is August 7th. We have 2 Blackhawks memories for today. Both of them not super enjoyable for Hawks fans. 7 years ago today, what many consider to be the greatest Blackhawk ever, Stan Mikita, passed away. And I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to meet Stan. He came into the Score one day, and I was introduced by my boss as the world's biggest Hawks fan, which is immediately probably to Stan Mikita a red flag. Like, oh no, this guy's going to be. But he could not have been nicer, could not have been more cordial. Just shooting the stuff, like just a down to earth dude. You would never know Stan Mikita walking down the street is one of the legends of the NHL, one of the innovators of the game. I also one day, this had to be maybe 15 years ago, my wife and I were going to Buffalo Wild Wings in is it Woodridge? What is that? Darien, Woodridge, like Route 83, just north of I-55. And we walk in, and Stan Mikita is sitting at like the waiting bench. And I'm like, does no one know who that is? Get them at a table.
How is Stan Mikita waiting for?
Why is his jersey's right there on the wall? Give that man a seat immediately. But just a class act. It's something. I can't help when I was born, but I wish I had gotten to see him play. But just the innovation that he played with, and one thing that I learned when I was writing my book was that he sort of reinvented himself as a player. Was a guy who took a ton of penalties, kind of undisciplined. And one day, one of his daughters said to him, like, why are you always sitting away from your friends? Why are you sitting over there all by yourself when your friends are sitting over there? And he said that was the moment where he decided, you know what? Enough of that crap. I'm too important to this team. I'm too good of a player. I'm not going to be a penalty minutes guy anymore. I'm going to recommit myself to playing the game the right way. Won the Lady Bings a couple times, and the rest is history. Stan Mikita, you can make the argument. I think he still has the edge as the greatest Hawk ever.
I think so. goaltenders wear masks in the NHL because of Stan Mikita.
Yeah.
He was the one that, invented by accident the curved stick and realized, oh, yeah, get up there where the peanut butter is. But as you mentioned, a super classy guy. Bringing him back into the mix as an ambassador once Rocky got control of the team was the right move. He was a guy that needed to be a part of this organization. He has a statue out on Madison Street, not just because of the team records that he holds, but who he was. There was those couple years during the Cup run. Was it his book or was it a book about him? Or he was promoting some book, and he would show up to random Hawk games and sign copies of this book out in the concourse in between periods. And there would be a lot of times where they would like, oh, the game's about to start, and they would cut the line off, and he was like, no, it's okay. Everybody's going to get their signed copy. I'm not sure if it was...
I think it was his Bob Verdi book, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
Forever a Blackhawk.
Yes, that was the one.
Yeah.
The one time I got to meet Stan, like close up and in person, I met him a couple times at different signings and things. But for a couple seasons, my sister and I were members of the old Blackhawk Standbys, the old fan club.
Cool.
And
bring that back, by the way.
Yeah, and they had a holiday party in the BMO Harris Club at the United Center for the Standbys. Wasn't during a game. It was just a random. The United Center wasn't being used, so we got to go there. And they didn't even tell us, but all of a sudden, in walks Stan Mikita. And he hangs out with all of us, signs an autograph, takes pictures. He was there for a good half an hour, just going to every table, talking to everybody there, thanking them for being fans. And it was just he's such a cool, down-the-earth guy. Him and Tony Esposito were just world-class human beings that represented this town, this franchise, and this sport perfectly.
Did he have his crazy plaid jacket on when he came?
Did. He did. The best was, what was it, the night they brought him out where him and his whole family were wearing the plaid jackets? Yeah, good stuff.
I love that. That is only Stan can pull that off. And he had the really sad, the Lurie body dementia is what he passed away from. And just towards the end had no recollection of his career. No recollection of who the Hawks were. It's so sad. And as someone who, my mom does not have the Lurie body dementia, but she has dementia. And it's just like, it is so painful to watch people like that go through. It's just such a cruel disease. And, I'm blessed she doesn't have what he had because it was a much more tragic form of dementia. But, man, it's rough. And when I wrote my book, his daughter, Jane, reached out to me on Facebook. I'm just like, oh, I saw your book and I read the chapter of my dad. I really appreciate it. I was like, wow, that's cool. So I guess he's got some grandkids now that I think are college age, at least one of them, and he's like a great golfer, like going to college on a golf scholarship, right? But he looks just like Stan. He's got the same, like, kind of the square face with the little bit of the widow's peak in the front, but like kind of a ginger, like reddish hair. It's cool. It's cool. It's
Is it he was like, when he played, he was one of the top stars of the town. Is it his wedding where Bobby Hall and Mike Ditka are the groomsmen, or was he a groomsman in somebody else? Whose wedding? I think it was Stan Mikita's wedding, where young Bobby Hall and a young Mike Ditka.
It was Stan's wedding.
Yeah, and who's somebody else is in that picture.
Here, I'm going to throw this in Slack.
It just goes to show you where he was, as far as standing in this city. Stan Mikita's wedding, and Mike Ditka's there. Bobby Hall, of course. Those two were, hand in hand.
Glenn Hall is in that picture,
Glenn
too.
Hall, yeah. He's another one that, Glenn Hall is another one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. That's one of my favorite sports pictures of all time is the Stan Mikita wedding photo.
All right, well, while we pull that up, I have a Glenn Hall story too. So when I was writing my book, if you want it, the Big 50, the men and moments that made the Chicago Blackhawks, hit me up. I'll send you a signed one because
it's all about the shameless.
I got a case of them in my basement that are just gathering dust. I had a question about something I was writing in the book, so I reached out to Bob Verdi. And those that don't know Bob Verdi, longtime Chicago sports writer, Blackhawks historian, Chicago sports legend. I called him up. I'm like, does this sound right to you? Have you ever heard? I can't remember what it was. He's like, you know what? I'm not sure. I'll call you right back. I'm like, great. 5 minutes go by. Bob Verdi calls me back. He goes, all right, I just got off the phone with Glenn Hall. He said, that does not sound familiar. I was like, what? You just called Glenn Hall just to ask? It was such a cool, like, yeah, sure. Let me just call Glenn Hall real quick and get this question answered for Jay. One of a series of pinch me moments in my career. They just continue all the time.
Like a lot of people get in this business to be certain guys. Some guys want to be Pat Foley. Some guys want to be Elliot Friedman.
That'd be fine too.
Bob McKenzie. I want to be Bob Verdi.
Bob Verdi. Just
love Bob
Hawks
Verdi.
historian. That's a very cool job. Yeah, Bob Verdi is. And he's also a great guy.
Absolutely.
When I was doing my post-game shows at the Scorer, he called me once and was like, I can tell you really know your stuff. It's like, wow.
It's the biggest
I fooled Bob Verdi.
Yeah, hey.
How did I pull that off? All right, here's the picture of Stan's wedding. There's Mike Ditka on the left. Glenn Hall is behind Ditka. I don't know who the guy is behind that. It's Bobby Hull in the very back.
Yeah.
And then I don't know who the other guy is too, but then Stan Mikita, obviously.
Joe DiMaggio?
It might be. They all look like Joe DiMaggio.
No, it's a little too late for Joe DiMaggio to look that young, but yeah, pretty cool.
That had to be a fun reception.
Yeah, I bet a few pops were thrown back that night.
I would think so.
As Darren Pang would say, had a
Yes.
few pops that night.
All right, well, rest in peace, Stan Mikita.
Absolutely.
It's a guy who,
Legend.
fortunately, this organization is not forgotten about. And when this Hall of Fame opens, and I'm sure we'll see a lot about Stan during the centennial season, as it should be. That guy should be front and center all the time. Kevin wants to name my book again. He's just asking, so I have to say it again. It's The Big 50, The Men and Moments That Made the Chicago Blackhawks. It's available anywhere you get your books. I recommend bookshop.org because it supports independent bookstores, or you can just DM me on Twitter at Jay Zawaski, and I will get in touch with you, and I can sign one and ship it right to you. So
Buy
happy
one
to
and
do
get
that
four
for you.
free.
That's right. They are just taking up space at this point. All right, the other historical event that happened today, 33 years ago,
Ugh, I'm old.
the Blackhawks traded Dominik Hasek to the Buffalo Sabres.
They did, but there was, like, people hear that and are like, oh, what worst trade ever. At the time, nobody cared.
Right. You had Eddie Belfour.
Yes. The reason you traded Dominik Hasek was because in Ed Belfour's first two seasons with the Blackhawks, he won the Calder Trophy and led the team to the Stanley Cup final. You kind of didn't need, I don't want to say, you could always use it, but you had your goalie of the future. And Dominik Hasek was not the Dominik Hasek he turned out to be.
Right.
So they traded him to the Sabres for, I can't remember the guy's name.
Well, Eric Daze was the
It was a third round pick in '93, which turned out to Eric Daze. So you essentially traded Dominik Hasek for Eric Daze. That was,
and Stefan Beauregard was the
Yes.
goalie that came back.
right. Whatever. So yes, people will say, "Oh, the Blackhawks traded away Dominik Hasek. That was so stupid." No, it wasn't. At the time, Dominik Hasek was not going to beat out Ed Belfour for the starting job. And I'm sorry, even if you give me the choice, knowing what their careers are, you can have either Ed Belfour for your franchise or Dominik Hasek in the 90s. I'm taking Ed Belfour.
I am loyal to Eddie. It's my guy. But I actually did go look at it today to see how quickly did Hasek establish himself as a great goalie. And it was quicker than I remembered. So trade happened August 7th, 1992. So it's a 92-90 before the 92-93 season. In 92-93, Eddie Belfour was an All-Star. He was named an first-team All-Star. He won the Vezina, and he won the Jennings.
Yep.
Okay? In 93-94, Dominik Hasek was a first-team All-Star, won the Jennings, won the Vezina, and finished second in Hart Trophy voting. In 94-95, Hasek, first-team All-Star, won the Vezina again, and finished, I think it was third in Hart voting. I might have these reversed. I maybe have a typo in here. But then, 94-95, Eddie Belfour, same year, wins the Jennings, and is second in Vezina voting. So you had two of the best goalies in hockey. Now, this was not the salary cap era. You could have very well held on to both of those guys,
Right.
and split time and probably won several Stanley Cups, which would have been great.
Yeah, but it was a different time, though.
Yeah.
You didn't have 1As and 1Bs. You didn't have tandems.
No.
You had your guy that played 78 games or 80 games. Like, it was a different time.
Why when I Google Eddie Belfour is the mugshot, the first photo still.
My favorite part to this story is why I love sports, because random things and you know, ironic things happen all the time. Ed Belfour eventually winds up with the Dallas Stars, gets his Stanley Cup in 1999, beating the Buffalo Sabres and Dominik Hasek.
That's crazy, man. To have two goalies that good in your system at the same time.
That's good scouting.
That
Neither
is-
of them drafted, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
Belfour was, maybe Hasek was. But it was like a 10th round pick.
Let's see.
Belfour was a free
Yeah.
agent signing out
He
of...
was a 10th round pick.
Yeah.
199th overall.
Right. So, sure, he was drafted, but at that point, you're just like, I can pronounce his name, draft him.
By the way, drafted in 1983.
Right.
And made his NHL debut in 90-91. Played 5 games for the Hawks that year. And then 91-92 played 20 games for the Hawks. So it took a long time. Eddie Belfour, you're talking about not splitting time. His career starts as a Hawk. 88-89 rookie year, 23. Then it was 74, 52, 71, 70.
Yeah.
And then the era started changing, like in the mid-90s, 42, 50, 46. It got a little more balanced in that regard. But early on, Eddie was playing 70 games a year. And that was the norm in the NHL. Though if you were a stud starter, you played
Look at Martin
90% of the
Brodeur's
yeah.
games played. He probably averaged 75 games a year for the majority of his career. Good old
Let's
Uncle
see.
Daddy.
All right, so 77, 67, 70, 70, 72, 72, 73, 73, 75,
Yeah.
73, 78. Oh, my God.
It wasn't just like 1 or 2 years. It was like a decade of playing 75 games a year.
At age 34, he played 78 games, then 77 at 35. Then 2 years later, at age 37, started 77 games. That is wild, man.
Yeah.
It's
Different time.
a different time. It's a
Different
different
time.
time. But but I know it looks painful in hindsight, but when it happened, I don't think anyone batted an eye.
No.
And Belfour was awesome, remains awesome.
Yes.
He got my vote for the for the inaugural Hawks Hall of Fame class.
If you would have gone the other way and said, we're going to trade Ed Belfour, Blackhawk fans would have lost their mind.
Oh my God, they would have burnt the Chicago Stadium down.
But say the roles were reversed and you kept Hasek, same thing would have happened. He would have got traded to the San Jose Sharks
Right.
in '97 for
Yeah.
nothing. Like, same thing would have happened.
Hey, don't call Ulf Dallin and Michael Sikora nothing.
There, yeah. Ulf Dahlen literally translates into player of no value.
Yeah, that was. Imagine trading a franchise player for no young prospects. I guess Michael Sikora was a bit of a prospect, but it'd be like that would be like trading Eddie Belfour for Nick Foligno and Ethan Del Mastro.
Yeah. Or Louis Crevier.
Right. Not good enough.
No.
You're fired again, Bob Pulford. You're refired.
Don't say his name. He'll be back with the organization.
I saw him in the United Center like 2 years ago with a name tag on. Jesus, scary. All right, let's wrap things up. We're done. We're done talking about the Hawks for today. Mario's back tomorrow. Make sure, again, you read Greg's stuff at Chicago Hockey Now. CHGO Wrestling coming out.
Yes, we recorded that earlier. That'll be out some point this afternoon.
Awesome. Big Summer Slam to react to.
SummerSlam review and the whole ESPN stuff.
I need to get a grasp on that. That might have a Jeff Agris day next week to figure that all out.
Yeah.
Because I can't. Because I'm dumb. All right, we'll talk to everybody.
We'll watch the show later. We talk about it.
All right, I'll do that too. Talk to everybody tomorrow at 2 o'clock right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.